Hello everybody, Joel Tabman here from Golf Monthly and welcome to this video where I'm going to be talking you through 7 winter gear hacks. So this is 7 relatively subtle changes you can make to the equipment that you use that can make a really big difference to the performance that you experience out on the course this winter. With the temperatures dropping and the ground conditions getting much softer, maybe the equipment that you've got in your bag for most of the year actually isn't quite fully optimized for these winter specific conditions. I'm going to talk you through some changes that you can make, really simple ones that can hopefully help you play better golf this winter. So without further ado, let's get started with the first winter golf gear hack, and it's all about the loft on your driver. Okay, so number 1, the first winter golf gear hack relates to the loft on your driver, or specifically the way you set the driver up. As we know, winter golf conditions, the ground's a lot softer, so you're going to get less distance when the ball lands, especially, you know, if you're someone who relies on a low ball flight and lots of run after the ball lands, you're really going to suffer in terms of a drop in distance off the tee. But there are some ways that you can counteract that. Essentially, you need to make your driver slightly higher launching, and there's a couple of ways you can do that. Most drivers these days are adjustable for loft, so I've got the new Titleist TSI3 here. This has an adjustable hosel, and while this has been custom fitted for me, so I would be a little bit wary about changing the settings. If you are someone who does have quite a flat ball flight and you need to get a higher trajectory to get more carry distance, think about adding some loft on your driver using the hosel settings. Maybe do some research online, make sure you get the right setting for you. The other way you can do that is by changing the weight positions on the sole. So it's not necessarily something that's possible with this driver specifically, but there are some models that have movable weight front to back, or maybe interchangeable weights where you can opt for a heavier weight in a rear position, and that's where you can change the launch characteristics of a driver. So pushing more weight back in the head should increase the launch angle a little bit, and it will also increase the forgiveness of your driver. So you're really getting 2 for 1 in terms of the benefits there. Maybe you had it configured for low spin in the summer for those really good shots, but actually making a driver high launching, more forgiving should help you get more distance in the winter. So that's definitely a change I would make to your driver. Get it launching higher, carrying further, and don't worry about those softer ground conditions. The next change you can make to your clubs for winter relates to your wedges, and specifically the amount of bounce that you have on your wedges, because as we know, in the winter when the ground conditions are soft, the leading edge will have a greater propensity to dig down into the turf, and it can make chipping and pitching really difficult. So think about switching into a wedge that has a bit more of a wider sole and maybe more bounce to counteract that softer turf. Should help the club glide across the top of the turf a bit more easily rather than dig down into it, give you greater margin for error on those chip and pitch shots. Alternatively, you could think about opting for something a little bit more drastic. You can see I've got this Callaway Mac Daddy CB wedge here, which has a much wider sole, definitely more of a user-friendly option. It will also give you a bit more forgiveness on full shots, I think we could all benefit from. So if you really struggle with chipping from wet lies, think about opting for something like this with a really wide sole to give you more forgiveness. And one final point I would make about wedges is, for me personally, you know, I play a lot of, well, all my bunker shots with my lob wedge, and actually in the winter you can get quite compacted hard sand, which can make it quite difficult to get the leading edge in under the sand enough to get the ball out. So I actually opt for a slightly lower bounce, narrower soled lob wedge in winter than I do in the summer, just to help get the club through the sand and the ball out. So that's player dependent, and obviously dependent on the type of bunkers that you play and how well they've been raked. We know there's not a lot of raking going on at the moment, so just think about the design of each of your wedges, what shots you use them for, to really help optimize the performance for those winter months. Now, another change you can make to your bag for those winter months relates to your putter, specifically the weight of your putter, because as we know, in the winter, the grass is a little bit longer, the greens are definitely a lot slower, especially when you factor in the dew and other things like that. So the ball isn't going to be rolling out as much, and therefore you need to counteract that. And if you're doing it with a longer stroke, you can lose control that way. So think about adding a bit more mass to your putter. This Mizuno Aimcraft is a great example because it comes with 8 gram weights as standard, but then you do get an additional weight kit that comes with it, so you can fine-tune the feel of your putter using different weights in this weight kit to add a bit more mass, add a bit more weight to the putter, which should give you a bit more speed, and therefore you haven't got to make huge adjustments to your stroke length to counteract those slower greens. So, you know, there are a few other brands out there that offer adjustable weights in their putters, or maybe you just want to switch into something that's a bit larger, that's going to give you a more immediate ball speed from the same length of stroke versus a conventional bladed putter, for example. So that's definitely one change that could make a really big difference on the greens this winter. Now, another change you should definitely consider making in winter relates to your golf ball, and specifically the type of performance that it's geared to offer. So there are a couple of benefits of switching to a more distance orientated golf ball. For example, I've got this new Titleist Velocity here. The first benefit of it, of course, is that it's geared for distance off the tee. So the fact that you're losing distance from those softer ground conditions, less run out when it lands, is counteracted by a ball like this. It's going to give you more carry distance, and therefore you're not going to see those big drop-offs if you were to stay in the same golf ball. And you might think, oh well, if I'm using a distance orientated golf ball, I'm going to lose control around the greens. But actually, when the conditions are much softer, the ball isn't going to run out as much when you're chipping anyway, so you've got the opportunity there to potentially lose out much less in that spin control around the green, even if it's a non-urethane covered golf ball like this. The other option to think about is a yellow golf ball. This is the new Titleist True Feel, which is available in yellow. Obviously the Pro V one is also now available in yellow. And maybe if you struggle to see golf balls in the winter months in those dimmer light conditions, you know, maybe a yellow option is worth trying. Definitely if you're playing in snow, this is going to stand out a lot better. And one final point I would make about golf balls generally is try and keep them warm in your pocket, you know, between the green and the tee, because it's said if the temperature drops by 10 degrees, that can cause a loss of distance by up to 2 yards. So fairly significant, I would say. Try and keep it nice and warm in your pocket between the green to the next tee, and hopefully that should minimise the distance loss. But fingers crossed, this is giving you some food for thought about the ball that you use during the winter. Right, the next change that you could make to your gear during the winter relates to your golf glove. For me, you know, I like to use a soft leather glove most of the time. It gives me great feel, great feedback on my golf shots. But for me, in the winter, that goes out the window. I want something that's a bit thicker, a bit more durable. I'm less worried about feel, more worried about keeping my hands warm, and maybe a glove that's going to last a bit longer, maybe all the way through the winter. And there are obviously some really good kind of synthetic options out there. FootJoy especially do a really good range of synthetic gloves, and I've got here a good example of what I think would be a really good option for winter. So these are the rain grip gloves. So they're a bit thicker. They're obviously, you wear them on both hands, so you're going to get a bit more control. And if it is raining, you're going to get even more grip. These offer more grip the wetter they get. So that's definitely a good versatile option in different weather conditions. You're going to get the warmth on both hands in the cold months. You're going to get the protection and grip in the rain, and also you get a ball marker, which is nice and conveniently placed here near the wrist entry of the glove, which saves you faffing around in your pocket trying to find your marker. So definitely think about switching to a glove or a pair of gloves like this for the winter. Should last you a bit longer and give you better protection as well. Now, the next item of kit to think about in the winter is your golf shoes. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have a pair that you like to wear in winter. They're probably black. They are almost certainly waterproof. But the one thing I would think about is the grip and the stability that this shoe offers, because that's going to be really important in those winter months when it's quite slippy. You know, those sloping lies are exaggerated by the fact that the ground is wet and muddy, and you can feel your feet almost slipping under you during your swing, and therefore that will have an adverse effect on the results of your shot. So think about how much grip your shoes are offering. Are they a few years old? Because the chances are the cleats have worn away. If they're spikeless, the nubs that stick out have probably also worn away, and they're not going to be giving you the grip that you need in the winter. So yeah, I'm not saying that you need to not be wearing a spikeless golf shoe, because there are some really, really good spikeless offerings out there that give you really good grip. I'm wearing the FootJoy Pro SL Carbon, which I think give really good grip, and they also give me really, really good stability. And obviously I've got them in black, which makes them ideal for winter. You're not going to show them mud as much, and they're really easy to clean. So, you know, think about the grip that they offer, think about the stability on offer in terms of laterally, you know, are they quite a rigid sole? That's the one thing I would focus on. You know, you want a golf shoe that's going to give you really good support and a strong base from which to swing. So really think about the grip and the stability that the shoes offer. They want to give you support and a strong base from which to swing, and that should help you play better golf this winter. Right, so the final winter hack relates to your trolley that you use during the winter. And I'm sure a lot of you actually prefer to carry during the winter because it makes things easier and actually gets the blood flowing a little bit more to keep you warm. But if you do use an electric trolley, think about the wheels that you have, because ones like this Motor Caddy M5 GPS, the wheels are removable and you can replace them with winter specific wheels. They're called Hedgehog wheels. Power Caddy also do a similar option for their trolleys. And in the winter there are situations where trolley bans are enforced, but if you have winter specific wheels that are essentially chewing up the ground much less, the tread is less aggressive, a bit more user friendly on the ground, will leave less marks, you should be able to use trolleys during a trolley ban when others can't. So that's definitely something to think about in the winter. Switching the wheels can make all the difference. Right, so that concludes our look at the 7 golf winter gear hacks. I hope you found it useful and it's given you something to think about in terms of a change you could make to your equipment that might make all the difference to your scoring. Comment down below in the video, I'd love to hear from you. Which one are you most interested in adopting into your bag? Do click the like button if you like what you're watching, and do subscribe to the Golf Monthly YouTube channel if you haven't already, so you don't miss any of our equipment videos. But that's all from me from West Hill Golf Club. I'll see you next time.